We just spent a couple of weeks in our old stomping grounds where we used to live for over 2 years.
It is one of the most popular cities in all of Ecuador for tourists and foreign residents.
So in this video, we're going to tell you the 10 things that we miss most about living there and then answer the question that we heard at least a dozen times during our visit.
Are we moving back?
Hit that subscribe button if you're thinking about moving to Ecuador or another country, because we talk about how to move abroad and the best places to live in our videos.
If you've been watching our channel for a while, then you probably know we're talking about Cuenca, Ecuador.
And stick around until the end because we're going to talk about some of the safety concerns that many of you have in light of the recent events here in Ecuador.
But first, here are the 10 things that we miss most about living in Cuenca, starting with number 10, and that is the delicious restaurants.
If you're a foodie like us, you'll love the variety of places that you can eat in Cuenca.
There's a lot of international cuisine, including our favorite Paradise Indian, which is owned by our hermana y hermano Chinu and Aben. We ate there way too much on our visit, but the food is so good and we miss them because they're our family.
There's also a lot of options for people with different dietary requirements like vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, etc.
And there is fast food to fine dining and lunch specials known as almuerzos starting at $1.50. And that's a lot of food you can get for $1.50.
Number 9 is the beautiful architecture.
We absolutely love the old world architecture in Cuenca. It is incredible.
Yeah, it's a photographer's paradise. I just love walking around taking pictures of the buildings, all the different architectural styles. It's just amazing just to walk around the city with the camera.
And there are so many different types of architectural styles too. It's more than just those incredible blue domes. You've got some Art Deco and modern buildings as well. It's amazing. We never get tired of looking at it.
Yeah, it's just not like the US where there's a strip mall on every corner. It's just a lot of real old world style buildings dating back for 500 years are still there in Cuenca.
And there's also a lot of new construction and modern condos.
Number 8 is the colorful mercados.
This is one of our all-time favorite things about living in Ecuador, and that is going and shopping in those mercados and buying our fresh produce.
Yeah, in Cuenca, there's just no substitute for it. They have mercados all over the city. Definitely the best place that we've been for the colorful mercados in Ecuador.
The biggest thing we had to do is learn not to get carried away, because when we first moved to Cuenca, we loved buying everything, so we just went and had so many bags of food, and then you can only eat so much.
Yeah, so do yourself a favor, go back daily or every other day instead of buying it all at once.
Number 7 are the small shops.
Yeah, there's little mom and pop shops all over the town in all the neighborhoods, especially in El Centro. You can go to different stores for different things. Like one store will have thread and another store will have fabric and another store will have buttons and other fasteners. And you can go to all of these shops to find the things you need.
So I like to call this going on a scavenger hunt. That's something that JP and I really missed once we moved outside of Cuenca. And maybe that sounds kind of crazy to you all, but it is part of the fun and enjoyment of living in Cuenca. You get to really get to know different areas and you get your favorite spots, and I don't know, it's like a new discovery all the time. Plus it gets you out and you're getting all your steps in. So it's a really good way to get in some exercise as well.
There are several malls and strip malls if that's your preference, with kind of big box stores, or the stores like Walmart, they call them Corral or Kiwi here. There's a Mega Maxi as well as a Sukasa. Those are like home stores. So you can find everything that you need, but we just really prefer the small shops.
Plus, again, we get to practice our Spanish, which is so important.
Number 6 are all the green parks. There are linear parks along the rivers. There's also Parque Paraíso, Parque de la Madre, Parque Calderon, and other parks. It's just so many parks that you can just go walk around a different one every day if you want to.
That's one of the things that we really missed when we were living in Manta. Manta's great because you have the incredible ocean, and it's hard to beat the ocean, but there were surprisingly no parks.
Yeah, we didn't have anywhere green to go walk around. It's kind of a desert microclimate there, but Cuenca is completely different. It's very green, and there's lots of places outdoors to go walk around.
And I love it because you see the parks being used all the time. It's families, little kids playing, dogs playing, people practicing their acrobatics. Like we saw those people doing their tightrope, doing yoga. And they've also got all the different parks have those free exercise workout equipments, and people use those all the time. They're very effective.
And there's also the new botanical gardens. We had a chance to go there last year on our visit, but we didn't make it this year. Absolutely beautiful place to go walk around.
It's so tranquilo.
Number 5 is there are a variety of things to do. I always call Cuenca the cruise ship of Ecuador because there's tons of activities and amazing places to eat.
Yeah, we never get bored. There are so many different things you could do, and it doesn't matter what age group you're in. You could take dance lessons like I did, and I was dancing with a bunch of 20-somethings, so you got to just go for it. Yoga classes, Spanish classes, art classes, cooking classes.
Meditation.
There's also a lot of museums you could visit. There's always a festival or a parade going around somewhere in town. You name it, it's happening.
Yeah, there's Spanish classes, dance classes, yoga classes, arts and crafts, meditation, pretty much anything. You also have a lot of volunteer opportunities if that's important to you. There's sports, you're going to find volleyball, pickleball, tennis. There's even a golf course in Cuenca, although you have to be a member or invited by a member to play there. But you're going to be able to find all kinds of things to do to keep yourself busy.
We went bird watching in Parque Paradiso. That's another popular activity that you could do anywhere in the city.
Number 4 are day trip adventures. There's lots of places close to Cuenca that you can visit, just 30 minutes to a couple of hours away.
You've got Cajas National Park. We went to both the upper and lower Cajas, thanks to Edwin, our driver and tour guide, and we'll link his contact info below in case you want to connect with Edwin while you're there. Highly recommend going to both of those places.
There are easy hikes all the way up to strenuous mountain kind of scrambling hikes in the Cajas, so you're going to have a variety of different levels for you as well.
Or you can just go hang out by the lake and relax and enjoy the views of the llamas, alpacas, and the horses.
Huron is not too far from Cuenca, about an hour and a half away. You've got Laguna de Busa, El Chorro Waterfalls, and Canopy Adventures. They have a sky bike, a canopy bridge, and a swing, or they call them columpios here. We were not brave enough to do those.
No, that looked kind of scary, and those people looked terrified. There was no way I was doing that.
There's also San Bartolome, where they make the handcrafted guitars, Chortaleg, which is known for its filigree jewelry, and Wallaceo, which is known for textiles and orchids.
We have visited Inca Pirca, which is an incredible place to go enjoy the ruins and learn a lot more about the history, and that's about 2 hours away.
Yeah, those are Inca ruins. There's also Biblion, which is a church that's built into the side of a mountain. So when you go inside, it's actually stone mountain on one side of the church. That's really cool to see. And there's Cojitambo in Azogues, which is a mountain that kind of sticks up out of the dirt, and it's really popular with rock climbers. And there's also Inca ruins on that mountain too.
I can't believe it. We forgot to mention Pumapungo, which is right in town. That's not even a day trip, but you've got to go see it when you are in Cuenca. I always go whenever we are visiting. It is my absolute favorite thing to do. There are even more things to do outside of Cuenca and in Cuenca, but obviously we cannot list everything, so we are moving on to number 3, and that is Baños de Sy, the hot springs.
Yeah, we love going to the hot spring spas in Baños. It's only about a 15-minute cab ride, kind of southwest of town, and usually costs about $4 to $5 for the cab. It's a great place to go spend an entire day. We usually spend 6 to 10 hours there when we go.
It is so incredibly relaxing, and there is a variety of different spas there that you can choose from, whether you want to go someplace a little bit more affordable, all the way up to Piedra de Agua and do the full cave experience. There's a lot of different foods you could eat around there, and wow, you were just going to feel like Jello when you were done. You were going to be super relaxed.
Number 2 is cost of living. Cuenca is still very affordable, and the prices have not changed that much since we moved here almost 6 years ago. The main difference is how much we spend on rent, and that can vary quite a bit depending on how big or nice a place you want.
And also how close you are into the heart of the city or El Centro. There's also a lot more high-end restaurants than there used to be, and there's a lot more things that are aimed to tourists or at tourists, which means that they're more expensive as well.
However, even with all that, Cuenca is still way more affordable than some of the other popular areas like Manta and Cumbaya.
And number 1 on our list are our friends. We have friends from all over the world and local Ecuadorians living in Cuenca. And it is so easy to meet people there because we all have something in common, and that is that we chose to move to Ecuador.
And there's lots of easy ways to meet people too. We talked about things to do earlier. If you go to those things to do, you're going to make new friends and meet new people, like especially at language exchanges and all of those events.
Yes, and the locals are very friendly and very helpful. And it's really important that you get to know them as well and get to know your neighbors. We knew all of our neighbors where we lived in Cuenca before, and it was wonderful.
And it was so nice to see all of our friends. We really miss all of our friends from when we lived there.
Every time we go back to Cuenca, we are reminded just how special it is.
And maybe that's why so many of you asked us if we're moving back during our visit.
We're going to answer that question with a confident maybe.
The two reasons that we moved away, one was the weather. It's like Seattle. The other is the elevation. The elevation isn't an issue anymore. I don't know what happened, but my body has adapted to it, and I'm not struggling at elevation now.
However, I still have some doubts when it comes to the weather, but I don't know. Cuenca's doing a really good job persuading me, so we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, it was a cloudy season while we were there, and we actually had several days of sunshine and blue skies, and even on the cloudy days, there was usually at least a little bit of blue sky here and there, so it wasn't nearly as bad as it was that year before we moved.
And now let's talk about safety. Unfortunately, Ecuador is not as safe as it was before the pandemic, and we have heard from several of you asking our opinion about the safety here in Ecuador.
Some of you have told us that you've canceled your travel plans or even your move, and I guess we totally understand that.
We do. If we didn't already live here and it didn't feel like home to us, and we feel so comfortable, we may have chosen to cancel our plans too.
Or we might have chosen some place that isn't constantly being featured in the international news, and we probably wouldn't have known any better if we went to one of those places, but because Ecuador is always in the news, it makes it seem a lot worse than it is.
The media likes to feature isolated events or the worst part of a major city in Ecuador, and then they generalize it, and that is not true or fair to the entire country or to the people of Ecuador.
Yeah, we just spent a week in Baños. We spent 2 weeks in Cuenca. We walked around at night. We felt totally safe in those areas. There are other parts of the country we would not feel safe in, but we don't go there.
No, and we don't recommend that you guys go there too. Don't go to the border of Colombia and Ecuador or Esmeraldas. And there's a couple other places that is on the government watch list that you should avoid. However, we feel safe where we live. We have no intention of moving. We're not going to stop moving around Ecuador or living our lives here. If you enjoyed this video, we think you'll like this one next.
And let us know in the comments below if you've been to Cuenca and what you liked about it or didn't like about it.
Before you go, leave us a like, please, and we will see you all in our next video.
Ciao.
Ciao.